What's good, sports gamers? It's that time again where a bunch of new 2K gamers are loading up for the first time. So with that in mind, I'm going to go over some basic things you should know to help get your gameplay off on the right foot on both gen consoles of NBA 2K23. So alright, let's get it. Introduced this year, by going into your controller settings from the option menu, you can now change your shot timing release time. And what that does is it lets you set your preferred speed to green during a player's jump shot. Meaning, depending on what you set, you'll be required to release the button at different points in the player's jumper to green, and this being represented visually by how fast the meter fills up once you begin your shot. If on very early, you may be required to let go basically on the way up, while on very late, you may have to release the ball nearly right before he lets the ball go from his hand. This setting can help you alter a decent jump shot into a very dangerous one by adjusting the shot timing release time. Another feature introduced in 2K23 is the quick scoop layups. This added move makes it harder to block shots because of how quick the ball handler can now put the ball up once they have a sliver of daylight, giving smaller players who can't dunk as close to a guaranteed 2 points as possible without the paint being wide open. This move is best utilized when your closest defender is behind or coming from the side of you to successfully convert. And to pull it off, you hold the right stick to the left or right to lay it up with your left or right hand. Next, let's talk about the need for you to be using icon lead passing if you haven't already. You want to use it often because it can create scoring opportunities out of thin air consistently for you, simply by changing the direction you're aiming your pass. And to do it, you bring up your icons with R1 or RB, then before you hit the icon of the player you want to pass it to, with the left stick, aim to the direction you want to throw the pass, and that player will chase after it. Doing this can lead them into the paint with clear space or push them behind the three-point line away from a defender. Icon lead passing is something you definitely need to add to your game if you haven't. Also introduced this year only on Xbox Series X and S and PS5 is the ability to hang on the rim after dunking the ball, which you pull up by holding the right trigger on your controller and never let it go throughout the whole process. This one is important. And then aim and hold the right stick down on your controller when you complete the dunk. You will continue to hang on the rim as long as you're holding the right trigger. You can also swing yourself side to side with the left stick while holding the right trigger, and also pull yourself up on the rim by flicking your right stick up. Or by holding the right trigger throughout, aim the right stick down, then let it go, and then hold it down again for a second time to perform a rim hanging skill dunk. And let go of the second flick when the meter fills to successfully pull it off. So you're flicking the right stick down twice and letting go once the meter fills up to successfully hit the dunk. But beware of holding on once the opponent starts to make their way up the court, or you will be called. Also new to NBA 2K is the implementation of the transition take foul that's in the NBA, which in real life is supposed to stop teams from allowing fast breaks by intentionally fouling the ball handler on purpose. But in 2K, it's if you're spamming the steal button out of position while guys are leaking down the court. It seems to be completely random, but because of the penalty of a free throw, try to be less aggressive with trying to pluck guys in the backcourt. If you prefer to play with the meter on, you're also able to change the shot meter you decide to play with, and each has various locations around the player. By going into your controller settings and down the shot meter type, the defaults are curved bar, that's located on the side, curved bar mini, straight bar mini, comet, that's above your player, and tusk one, that's underneath. Try each one of them out and see what you have the most success with. Next, if you're starting out, you might want to dig into your team's playbook to find some plays to get guys open immediately. Because when you really need a bucket, it will take a lot off your plate having a preset play designed to generate a wide open look for hopefully your best scorer. And you can access this on current gen by hitting LB or L1 on your controller, and then the player you want to run a play for's icon. And on last gen, after hitting LB or L1, there's an extra step before you access the player specific play calls, and that's hitting R1 or RB on your controller for positional play calling. And from there, you hit the player's icon you want to run a play for. And on both gen consoles, the first page will be basic plays for you to run with that player. And by hitting the right trigger, you will access the player's specific plays in that team's playbook for him. And you can cycle between the pages hitting the left or right trigger as well. The better the player, the more plays he will likely have, while more one-dimensional players will have plays only designed for the one thing he's good at. You can also access each team's plays in the roster menu, and you can even practice them in 2K's dedicated mode for it as well. One of the easiest scoring opportunities that you should not let pass you by is when your players trigger a putback dunk or layup animation. Once you notice they're about to trigger to successfully convert, you simply hit square or X on your controller and that player will attempt to complete a putback scoring opportunity that don't make a high amount of the time. This saves you from getting the board, bringing it down, and putting up a heavily contested shot. That granted goes in a lot of the time this year, but you're almost guaranteed a putback scoring chance, so don't miss it when it happens. Regarding passing, the number one thing you must remember is just because a player looks open doesn't mean he's actually open. What I mean by that is you want to quickly scan any nearby defenders to see any who are lurking or outright sprinting into the passing lane to jump your pass. Whenever somebody picks you off, doesn't it seem like they literally just came out of nowhere? You want to make sure the coast is clear by noting the defender that is a threat to the pass being stolen before you commit to any pass. Playing against human opponents, they're anticipating you passing the ball instantly whenever a player gets open. But because they see it at the same time as you, a lot of the time it can close that window just as quickly as it opened. So try waiting an extra half second, scan the court, and make note of any potential defenders who can give you trouble before you commit. And have your decision be based on their reaction. It can show a user defender's true intentions quite clearly on if they're actually going to attempt to jump a pass or not. When you miss a shot and are now defending the fast break, instead of going for a steal on the guy who has the ball and allowing free throws because of it, you can help yourself and increase your chances of forcing a turnover by utilizing the switch to the closest guy to the basket button. By bringing up your player's icons with RB or R1 on your controller, then hitting LB or L1 to switch to the guy closest to the rim, which will be the guy furthest away from the ball, and you can then play sort of like a free safety, where you can clean up any players leaking down the middle of the court or sidelines. If you find yourself in a clear mismatch like having your big suddenly guarding a point guard, or even worse, somebody like Trae Young on Joel Embiid, you can fix this by holding the X or A button on your controller, and by holding that button, that player will switch assignments with his nearest teammate. Noticing the mismatch quickly enough can get you out of trouble and have your opponent wondering what happened to their juicy mismatch. One sneaky thing you must be aware of when you're guarding on ball is there will be situations where the ball handler, either on purpose or by accident, will run directly into one of your off-ball defenders, thus leaving his man wide open for an open jumper shall they pass, unofficially switching defenders with you for the time being. So you have to be aware, if you're not going to switch off, that is, when the ball handler is nearing one of your off-ball defenders, because they will lock onto them. And be ready to bolt directly over to the uncovered shooter. You'll be surprised how often you can come up with steals this way from opponents who have done this so much they think it's an automatic wide open shot, and ignoring you're taking off right towards them. Sometimes the game will decide you're not going to get the steal, so yeah, beware, but also going over there yourself won't force a permanent switch though. So if you miss the steal, the defender the ball handler pick up will go back to his man once they pass the ball, so be prepared to go back to yours. Now, if you found a few plays that you like to run, you can set it up so you can access them way quicker than hitting their icon and scrolling to page 50 just to select it. And that's with setting up your favorite plays. So it will take 2 or 3 button presses at max and bam, you're running whatever play you selected. Your favorite plays without touching anything will always start with basic actions like ISO, floppy type stuff. But by going into your game plan in the pause menu, and then down to offensive settings, and then down to play selection is where you can change your favorite plays. And on current gen, you'll be able to change your starter and bench's favorite plays. Like I mentioned, you will start with the default 8 favorite plays. Now, if you hit X or A, you're now able to edit every single one. And I'm gonna remove each one by hitting square on my controller. But I'm also gonna add my favorite go-to plays so I can quickly access them on the court. by hitting X or A and scrolling down until I'm in my team's playbook. And then I can select 8 of my team's best plays to quickly access. So they are there the next time I come up the court. On current gen, to access your favorite plays, you hit left on the D-pad to bring them up, and the left and right triggers to cycle between the 2 pages. So because of this, I will put my favorite plays at the top and work your way down. So the best ones are on the first page and the next 4 are on the second. And on last gen, you have to hit LB or L1 on your controller to bring them up. And then make sure your favorite play is going to whoever you want, or if you have somebody in particular that you wanted to go to that's not already designed for it to go to. You can assign plays to specific players by highlighting the play and hitting triangle or Y on your controller, and then you can assign it to anybody in your starting lineup. If you're facing a full court press or one-on-one heavy pressure in the backcourt, not sure if you know, but you can call for a screen to help save the day, and that player will help screen for you in the backcourt if a defender is near the ball handler to help spring you free. And lastly, now when you're open on the perimeter, be aware of any defenders who are close enough that they'll attempt to sell out and try to spike the ball in your face and ultimately affect your shot by jumping. Especially after the first time you notice they do this, as it will show you they're willing to open themselves up to even more wide open shots, layups, and dunks by you simply being patient. Sorry sports gamers, do you agree with the list? And if not, what's something that you think new 2K gamers should know when they first boot up? Leave it in the comments down below. And stay tuned here at Sports Gamers Online for more NBA 2K23 content. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And once you're with us, hit that bell icon at the bottom so you don't miss anything we put out. Alright people, I'm Chris. Thank you all for watching, and be good y'all.